all know, it's time for everybody to re-enroll in school. And we want to just kind of talk with you guys about history and about our program and what exactly we offer. Because I know that a lot of parents right now, you're dealing with a lot of stuff with Black Lives Matter. There's marching that's been going on now for months, and your children are seeing all this stuff on television. So it's important that they understand what's going on and that our children are able to come to grips with their true history and know who they are. The reason why, if they don't, you end up making a lot of negative, self-hating people. And I remember a few years ago, Dave Chappelle did a skit. We're gonna let you guys see it today about a racist, white supremacist black man named Clayton Bixby.
For viewers sensitive to issues of race, be advised that the following piece contains gratuitous use of the N-word. For the last 15 years, a man named Clayton Bixby has been the leading voice of the white supremacist movement in America. Though not sold in any major bookstores, his books Dump Truck, Jane, I Smell, and Book have sold over 600,000 copies combined. Despite his popularity, very few have ever seen him due to his reclusiveness, but in an effort to bring his message to a wider audience, he agreed to give his first public interview ever to Frontline. But getting to Mr. Bixby was an odyssey in itself, riddled with backcountry hollers, shifty go-betweens, and palpable danger.
Excuse me. Not sure we're in the right place. We're looking for Clayton Bixby.
Well, look no further, fella. You found me.
Clayton Bixby, the author?
What, you don't think I can write them books? Just 'cause I'm blind don't mean I'm dumb.
How could this have happened? A black white supremacist.
Clayton Bixby was blind. He was raised by white people in a white society. He was taught white supremacy, just like all your history books today.
Our search for answers led us here to the Wexler Home for the Blind, where Mr. Bixby spent the first 19 years of his life.
Bridget Wexler is the home's headmistress.
Well, he was the only Negro we'd ever had around here, so we figured we'd make it easier on Clayton by just telling him and all the other blind kids that he was white.
And he never questioned it.
Why would he?
Yeah, that's basically how the schools are today. When you go into these schools that are in predominantly white areas and are governed by, the school board is all white, principals are all white, it's governed by them, and you open these textbooks, these history books, they have zero accomplishments by Negro people, Native people. They start you off with Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass.
Slavery.
They start you off with all these guys of struggle. It's just one struggle after another. First is Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. It's all struggle. They don't start you off with the real McCoy. They don't talk about Beethoven. They don't talk about Bass Reeves. They don't talk about Madam C.J. Walker. They don't talk about Queen Charlotte. It's so much they omitted. They don't talk about the black Europeans.
You've written 4 books now.
I've written 6 books. They've published 4.
What would you say is the overall message of your books?
Sir, my message is simple. Jews, homosexuals, Mexicans, Arabs, and all kinds of different chanks stink, and I hate it.
I noticed you referred to African Americans. What exactly is your problem?
How much time you got, buddy? Where would I start? Well, first of all, they're lazy, good-for-nothing tricksters, crack-smoking swindlers, big butt-having, wide-nose breathing all the white man's air. They eat up all the chicken, they think they're the best dancers, and they stink. Did I mention that before?
Yes, I believe you did, sir.
Matter of fact, my friend Jasper told me one of them coons came by his house to pick his sister up for a date. He said, "Look here, that there's my girl."
You've never left this property, have you, Mr. Bixby?
No, sir, not in many years.
what if I were to tell you that you are an African American?
Sir, listen, I'm gonna make this clear. I'm in no way, shape, or form involved in any.
Right.
And so when you think that you came from nothing and you came from nothing but struggle, first off, it affects your mindset. A lot of times you don't aspire to get any more out of life than just the minimum. And what happens is when it comes to procreation, you black, my black females out there, you think about security, you think of a white man.
Right.
You end up like Clayton Bixby.
Right.
You don't want to see nobody else but them, because you have been programmed to see struggle within yourself. You think about Martin Luther King, Nat Turner, Frederick Douglass, you know, all these people, you know, Harriet Tubman, nothing but struggle and fighting against the oppression. So you want to kind of bump the trend and you just marry into the oppressor.
Right, just like that little girl that was on Dr. Phil's show.
Well, you know, I think if you get caught up in the very extreme things that she's talking about, then you miss the tragedy of her story, Dr. Phil. And the tragedy is, unfortunately, Mom, you didn't intend to. And I actually heard you say, well, what I told her about who she was, and then told her the truth later on, well, nobody was going to get hurt. Unfortunately, somebody did, the most important person, and that was your daughter. You lied to her about who she was, and then when you told her that she was something else, it caused a complete identity crisis. So we have issues around culture, we have issues around class, we have issues around racial identity, and we have issues around self-esteem. It's not that she hates black people, it's that she hates herself and she wants her own life back.
She just refused to accept her black heritage. And she wasn't even light-skinned. This is a dark-skinned little girl. And yet, she's just refusing her blackness because her silly mother never taught her anything about herself. And when you put your child in school and you don't teach them anything about themselves, what happens is all the knowledge they're getting is what they're finding on television and what they're finding in those textbooks. And those textbooks, many of them are outdated. They're still presenting information from 60 years ago that was full of white supremacy. My son had a literature course, and in the book, Tom Sawyer, he's calling his friend a nigger. The nigger's gonna help me whitewash the fence. I said, what in the world? So I had to go and literally just scrap the whole literacy program and create my own that was more culturally diverse, which is the reason why we have the homeschool network. Whenever Dave Chappelle was showing you guys this skit, they made it seem funny and ludicrous. But now today, we actually see young black kids that's acting just like Clayton Bixby. If you want your child to have a culturally diverse history, which is extremely important right now, you need to enroll them in the homeschool network. We have a Black History program. Our history program does not just go into slavery and the beating up and the terrorizing that happened to our people. We actually begin in the beginning. We actually start by going into, they can learn about the actual gods and goddesses who they have today whitewashed, who were really black. They can see how the original Jesus was black. Then we go into kingdoms. So they have the different ancient kingdoms, which were in Africa, which were in the Americas, which were in Europe. They learn about all this stuff. There are videos embedded, literature embedded, so they can learn these things. We have famous black people that most of us have never been taught about, like about the black cowboys in the West, the scientists, the inventors, different black people here in the Americas, even the ancient blacks like Mansa Musa. So there's a lot of really good information here. We have tons of pictures so that they can actually see how history has been altered, and they can understand that they do have a history. When you feel like you came from nothing and your people were just nothing but negative connotations, the same way Dave Chappelle showed where he was saying all these terrible things about black people. And then you see the little girl on Dr. Oz, all these terrible things that she says about black people. That's stuff that's been psychologically programmed into them to feel that way about themselves. However, when you can see that your people actually had a history, your people were someone to be proud of, then it can change your life forever. So at this point, if you want your child to learn their true history, and even if you're not black, but you want your child to have a better culturally diverse education, you need to join the Homeschool Network. You can join for as little as $29 a month per family, and you're going to get access to our Black History Resource Center, which is available 365. So it's not just on 1 month. You can actually teach your children all year long. What I recommend doing is every Friday, I would pick another topic and I present it to my children. And then I would also reinforce whatever they learn with arts and crafts. So we would create bingo games. We would do different things to help them to retain the knowledge that they're learning, so that by the time they graduate, they know a whole lot more than the average child who goes through a regular education system. If this is something that you're interested in, you can go directly to our Homeschool Network website, www.homeschoolnetwork.us, and enroll. And we would love to have you participate with us this year.
Bye! Thanks for visiting!